This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
(1:15 p.m.) This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The IMF's first program review begins today. Sri Lanka hopeful of promising pathway for growth. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is set to address a delegation at the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. A program will be implemented to enhance the living conditions of the welfare beneficiary recipients. Possibilities will be looked into to hand over the railway service to the private sector if the trade union action continues further. Foreign news, Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with Kim Jong-un is a possibility. News in detail. The first review of the International Monetary Fund's Extended Fund Facility for Sri Lanka is slated to commence today, and this new review is a significant milestone towards securing the second tranche and enhancing confidence in the island nation's economic recovery, Finance State Minister Shehan Semasinha, in a post on X, formerly Twitter, said. The successful completion of the first IMF review puts Sri Lanka in a strong position for economic recovery and sets a promising pathway for growth in 2024, he added. A delegation of the Washington-based global lender will arrive in Colombo today for the review, which is scheduled to go on until the 27th of this month. It aims to restore Sri Lanka's macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability, mitigating the economic impact on the poor and the vulnerable, safeguarding financial sector stability and strengthening governance and growth potential. The EFF program allows Sri Lanka to access financing of up to $7 billion from the international financial institutions, IFIs, and multilateral organizations. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is set to address the delegation at the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. President Wickremesinghe will address the General Assembly on the 21st of this month. His speech will revolve around the theme Rebuilding Trust and Reigniting Global Solidarity, Accelerating Action on the 2030 Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals towards Peace, Prosperity, Progress and Sustainability for All. Notably, President Wickremesinghe is scheduled to participate in Heads of State Government Leaders Dialogue during the 2023 SDG Summit. Here, world leaders will come together to provide crucial guidance on transformative and accelerated action leading up to 2030. Furthermore, the President will lend his voice to the Climate Ambition Summit convened by the UN General Secretary, where a collective global will to hasten the transition to a more equitable, renewable energy-based, climate-resilient global economy will be the central focus. Adding to his packed agenda, President Wickremesinghe will deliver a keynote address at a high-level meeting on financing for development, highlighting the imperative of fostering debt sustainability and strengthening the global financial safety net. During his stay in New York, President Wickremesinghe will seize the opportunity to meet Mr. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, and engage in discussions with leaders of member countries. Minister Anupa Pascal says that the program will be implemented to enhance the living conditions of the welfare beneficiary recipients instead of the long-term beneficiary plan. It's hoped to provide the beneficiary payments for the elderly, cancer and kidney patients, and for the disabled persons continuously. He stated that a special strategic plan will also be introduced to enhance the economy of more than 1 million people who are eligible for accessible beneficiary payments. A plan has been prepared under the advice of the President to strengthen these people within a 3-year period. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Next Gen Lifestyle set agum digital banking partner People's Bank.
Although the railway strike is called off, the passengers have faced many hardships due to the non-operating of sufficient trains this morning. Deputy General Manager of Railways M.J. Indipolage said that presently the drivers are reporting for duty. A decision has been taken at the meeting headed by Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena to grant a date for them to report for duty as the railway service has been declared as an essential service. Accordingly, Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the Dasadesin program of the SLBC today, that if they report for duty today, disciplinary action will not be taken. He also reiterated that possibilities will be looked into to hand over the service to the private sector if they engage in strike action further without seeking solutions through discussion. The Agriculture and Agrarian Insurance Board has handed over the report on crop damage that has been caused by the 12th of this month to the Minister. According to the estimated figure, more than 66,000 acres of land have been damaged due to the drought and heavy rains. More than 65,000 farmers have been affected by the damages. Kurunegala district has been reported as the mostly damaged area. The report is scheduled to be submitted to the Cabinet in due course. And that ends local news for now.
Enjoy seamless shopping. Open LCs, settle bills and transfer funds instantly, anywhere and anytime. With People's Bank Digital Solutions, you're empowered to do more whenever and wherever you want. Unlock a world of modern banking conveniences with People's Bank, your next generation digital banking partner. People's Bank.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatma.
In the main news story, Sri Santosh Jha, presently Ambassador of India to Belgium, has been appointed as the new High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka. The Ministry of Indian Foreign Affairs said that he is expected to take up the assignment shortly. The current High Commissioner Gopal Bagle has been appointed as the Indian High Commissioner to Australia. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatma.
In Watchlight this afternoon, nearly 60 pilots have left Sri Lankan Airlines during the last 12 months, and the airline is in the process of recruiting pilots. The Sri Lankan Airlines says it has already obtained the government's approval to recruit foreign pilots. Its CEO, Richard Natal, explained that the recruiting foreign pilots comes as a bid to address the prevailing pilot shortage the national carrier is facing, and that was Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
It's the power to live life your way. The power to be a trendsetter. Power to you with digital banking from Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank. Our interest is in you.
World News headlines. Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with Kim Jong-un a possibility. Libyan rivals coordinating over flood relief. And Vietnam fire, 56 dead and dozens injured in Hanoi apartment blaze. North Korea's Kim Jong-un is continuing his highly scrutinized visit to Russia following talks with Vladimir Putin over a suspected arms deal. The pair met yesterday at the Vostochny Space Center after Mr. Kim arrived in his private armed train. Mr. Putin later said they discussed possibilities for military cooperation and indicated that he would help Pyongyang develop satellites. The U.S. says Moscow is attempting to buy weapons to support its war on Ukraine. It has warned that any help Moscow gives to Pyongyang's satellite program would violate UN Security Council resolutions. The two rival governments in Libya are coordinating relief efforts for flood victims, the UN has said. More than 5,300 people died after two dam bursts brought devastating floods to the eastern city of Derna. At least 10,000 people are missing and tens of thousands more have been displaced. A UN official said that both the eastern and western governments had requested international aid and were liaising with each other. At least 56 people are known to have died and dozens were injured in a huge fire in an apartment block in Vietnam's capital, Hanoi. Some 37 people were injured in the fire, police said, adding that 39 victims have been identified. The fire, which broke out during night, has been extinguished. The owner of the building has been arrested. The authorities, a fast-growing Hanoi, say many newly built apartments do not meet fire safety regulations. The city's population has quadrupled to 5.25 million in the past 20 years. Back to the headlines of the world news. Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with Kim Jong-un a possibility. Libyan rivals coordinating over flood relief. And Vietnam fire, 56 dead and dozens injured in Hanoi apartment place. That ends world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
This message is for all the kids between the ages of 4 and 16 who love to draw. Commercial Bank's Arunalusittam is back once again. This time, the competition is also open to Sri Lankan kids currently living abroad. First, second and third place prizes will be awarded along with special merit and merit certificates. For more information, visit the Commercial Bank website. We have so many prizes to be won.
Development News.
The government has allocated 500 million rupees to propagate green land cultivation in the country. 500,000 rupees will be provided to 30 selected farmers from each district in this regard. Measures will be taken to develop these green lands as model villages, and that was Development News. Moving on to sports news, Sri Lanka under-19 team won the match by 7 wickets played against the West Indies team at the youth second test match played in Dambulla. The West Indies team scored 127 runs in their first innings and scored 277 runs in their second innings. Sri Lanka team scored 326 runs in their first innings. And that was cricket news on sports. And moving on to business news next.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Singapore-Sri Lanka Business Association President Lakshanthi Fernando and Vice President Senaka Tiranagama met recently with the Board of Investment Chairman Dinesh Virakodi in Singapore to discuss areas of collaboration to promote Sri Lanka as an investment and retirement destination, including a high-profile investment promotion event which the SLBA is planning for in October 2023. And that was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. Sri Lanka has welcomed over 46,000 tourists in the first 2 weeks of September, the provisional data from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority showed. From September 1st to the 12th, the island nation lured a total of 46,308 international visitors. This brings the cumulative arrivals for the year up till September 12th to 950,626. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamu, northwestern and north and the south provinces in the Kandy Nuwara districts as well. Showers and thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Ua province and in Batticaloa and Ampara district during the evening or night. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north central, northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. That was the weather report, and prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The IMF's first program review begins today. Sri Lanka hopeful of promising pathway for growth. President Ranil Wickremesinghe is set to address the delegation at the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. A program will be implemented to enhance the living conditions of the welfare beneficiary recipients. Possibilities will be looked into to hand over the railway service to the private sector if the trade union action continues further. Foreign news, Vladimir Putin says military cooperation with Kim Jong-un is a possibility. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.